You are sitting in a chair right now. A chair made of plastic, metal, or wood. You are breathing air that smells like nothing. You are warm. You are dry. You are safe. But 12,000 years ago, your ancestors were running. Running from walls of water 300 feet high. Running from darkness that lasted for years. Running from earthquakes that swallowed entire valleys. And somehow they survived. Not because they were stronger than you. Not because they were braver. Because something inside them was wired differently. This is the story of the ancient survival switch, and why it still controls your body today. Everyone knows that natural disasters are dangerous. We watch them on screens. Hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. We think, modern humans are smarter. We have warning systems. We have buildings. We have science. Our ancestors had none of that. So we assume they just got lucky. But something doesn't add up. Because archaeologists keep finding the same strange pattern. Human settlements that were destroyed by catastrophe. And rebuilt. Again. And again. And again. At Catalhoyuk in Turkey, a Neolithic village burned down at least 18 times over 1,200 years. Each time, the people returned. They rebuilt on the exact same spot. Why? Not because they were stupid. Because something was keeping them alive that we barely understand. In 2010, Dr. Anna Maria Preisler at the University of Konstanz in Germany published a study in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior. She wanted to understand how ancient humans responded to environmental collapse. So she did something unusual. She studied 6,000 years of archaeological records from the North Sea region. Not looking at tools. Not looking at art. Looking at something invisible. She measured what she called collective behavioral resilience. How fast did groups reorganize after floods? How did they redistribute food after crop failures? What she found broke every assumption. Groups that survived the longest weren't the ones with the best tools. They were the ones with the most flexible social networks. The ones who could switch leaders overnight. The ones who could turn enemies into trading partners in days. But the strangest part was still hidden. In 2016, Dr. Penny Spikins at the University of York published research in the journal Quaternary Science Reviews. She studied 400,000 years of human survival data. Not just Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, earlier Homo species. She found something that made no sense. For 90% of human history, there was almost no technological progress. Stone tools stayed basically the same for 300,000 years. But during that same time, human brains grew by 30%. What were brains doing with all that extra power? Not making better axes. Something else. Spikins proposed the social brain hypothesis. The extra brain power wasn't for technology. It was for catastrophe insurance. For tracking who owes whom a favor. For remembering which person betrayed the group during the last flood. For recognizing the exact facial expression that means, I am about to panic and run. But this was only half the story. In 2019, a team led by Dr. Shimon Edelman at Cornell University published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology. They ran a computer simulation. Not with humans. With artificial agents. They created 10,000 virtual groups. Each group faced random environmental disasters. Some groups had agents programmed to be individualists. Take what you can. Survive alone. Other groups had agents programmed for prosocial panic. When disaster struck, they looked for others first. The results were brutal. Individualist groups collapsed after an average of 3.2 disasters. Prosocial panic groups lasted through 47 disasters. But here is what matters for you. The prosocial agents weren't nicer. They weren't more moral. They were more accurate. Their brains could compute something the individualists missed. The probability that cooperation would pay off in the next 72 hours. Not in general. Not in principle. In the specific emergency unfolding right now. The most surprising discovery came later. In 2021, Dr. Sarah Jaquette Ray at Humboldt State University published in the journal Emotion, Space, and Society. She studied modern survivors of wildfires, hurricanes, and floods. Not ancient humans. People alive today. She measured something called disaster identity. How did people describe themselves after survival? The pattern was eerie. People who thrived didn't say, I was brave. They said, I knew who to trust. They said, I remembered my grandmother's voice. They said, I felt like I was watching myself from outside. Their brains had activated something Ray calls the extended self. a mode where your body becomes less important than your connection to the group, where pain feels distant, where time stretches and compresses simultaneously. Almost nobody talks about this part, but this is the ancient survival switch, and it is still inside you. You thought ancient humans survived because they were tough, because they endured pain better, because they were closer to nature. But the real reason was something you would never guess. They survived because they could turn off their individual selves. In catastrophe, the brain doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more connected, more suggestible, more imitative, more willing to follow. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate survival technology, a 400,000-year-old neural program that activates when the world falls apart. And here is what changes everything. Modern life has broken this switch. Think about your last real emergency. A car almost hit you. A fire alarm went off. Someone collapsed near you. In that moment, did you feel more connected to strangers? Or did you feel alone? Dr. Edelman's team found something disturbing in their 2019 data. When they programmed their virtual agents with modern urban social parameters, the prosocial panic strategy failed. It didn't just work less well. It inverted. Agents became more selfish under stress, not less. The ancient survival switch was still there. But the social environment had changed too fast for it to activate correctly. This is the evolutionary mismatch. Your brain still expects 50 trusted faces in a disaster. It gets 500 anonymous ones. Your brain expects to recognize the person who will save you. It gets a screen full of conflicting instructions. This means the same neural circuit that saved your ancestors now creates something new. Disaster paralysis. The freeze you feel when too many options exist. The inability to act when no one around you seems to know what to do. This changes how we see ourselves. You are not weaker than ancient humans. Your brain is running survival software designed for a world that no longer exists. The ancient survival switch expects immediate physical threat, clear group boundaries, known faces, rapid resolution. Modern disasters deliver delayed, invisible threats, unclear boundaries, strangers everywhere, chronic, ongoing stress. Your switch flickers. It misfires. It sometimes never activates at all. This is why modern trauma looks different from ancient trauma. Why PTSD rates spike in complex societies. Why the same flood that your ancestors would have survived physically now breaks something psychological. But there is another way to read this. In 2022, Dr. Michelle Klein at Simon Fraser University published in the journal Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society. She studied remote communities in the Solomon Islands, communities that still live with the social structures of 10,000 years ago. She measured their disaster responses against urban populations in developed nations. The differences were not what she expected. Remote communities recovered faster from actual physical disasters, but urban populations recovered faster from information disasters. Fake news, economic panic, social media storms. Two different survival modes. Two different brains. Both ancient. Both still inside you. This means you are not stuck with one broken system. You contain both. The question is which one gets activated. You started this video sitting in a chair, breathing safe air. Warm, dry, protected. But 12,000 years ago, your exact genetic material was running from that 300-foot wave. And it survived. Not through strength, not through courage, through a neural technology so sophisticated that modern science is only now understanding it. The ability to become someone else when everything falls apart. To become the group. To become the memory that outlasts the body. Maybe the problem was never weakness. Maybe it was something much older inside us, waiting for the right faces in the right light, waiting to remember what it was built to do.